help you. Well, good luck with your journey.
Dan Trachtenberg has struck again, folks. This movie was such a spectacle to watch, and it was very entertaining, and while it had some flaws and wasn't necessarily the best movie of the year nor the best Predator film that has come out, it still is an amazing film within the Predator franchise. A beautiful installment and just such a great way and flow to this film. Let's get into it.
Here, you're not the Predator. You're the prey.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me again in another video. Demetrius Schuster Kaloamatangi has really blown me away with his performance as Dek and as the father as well, but performing as Dek was just absolutely beautiful. I love the character of Dek within the Predator franchise because it is definitely a different kind of Predator than we have seen in previous films. Elle Fanning, who did both Thea and Tessa, these synths that were made with a little bit more sensitivity than the rest of the synths. They are the only two made that way, and I have to say for a specific reason. It had to be because of the fact that they're females, but there has to be another reason to them being the only two that have heightened sensitivity among the rest of the synths. Stefan Grube and Michael Homek will both equally play Kue, which is Dek's brother in the film. The basic synopsis: Kue is the older brother and Dek is the younger brother, and within the Predator lore and within their culture, they have to show that they are strong and they have to cull the weak, which is a basic thing within a lot of different cultures and things that have happened throughout history, is culling the weak. Only the strongest will survive. So within the Predator world and the whole culture of the Yautja, as they're called, you have to show that you are worthy, and apparently Dek was the weakest of the entire clan. So instead of taking him under the wing or trying to help him get stronger, they would just get rid of him, which Kue, his brother, was trying to help him get stronger and train him and see where he could improve on and just help him, because Kue definitely cares about his brother. So throughout the film, we follow Dek and we follow Thea, who is one of the synths that he comes in contact with upon getting to this one planet. This planet is called Genna, and this planet is home to a thing called a Kalisk, which is something that even a Predator fears, and it's something that is to be hunted and is a prized trophy, and if he could bring that back, then he would be deemed technically the strongest, because even his father was scared to go to this planet and fight this Kalisk. I like the directing of this movie because along the way we see this Predator who is typically like the rest of the Predators that we have seen. However, there's something a little bit different, and there's things that transpire throughout the film between Thea and Dek that you wouldn't really expect, especially coming from a Predator. But I love the way how Dan Trachtenberg did this movie because it shows you a different side of the Predators themselves, which I'm sure all these Predators can probably feel what Dek felt on Genna when he was trying to find his trophy. But the way how he is portrayed is just absolutely astounding to me, because I wouldn't have expected this Predator to go in the direction that he went in and be as empathetic as he ends up being. And I know that sounds crazy to think, especially involving a Predator, but that's where the great nature of this film and the directing comes in, from showcasing that, especially amongst this race. So there's a creature that Thea and Dek get in contact with, and they call him Bud, or at least Thea calls him Bud. And Ravi Narayan plays the character of Bud, the little creature that we are introduced to and we see a little bit throughout the film. And I've got to say, I did like the chemistry between these characters, even though yes, they're like creatures and synths and the Predator. It's just the way how they formulated this little team, if you will, was pretty interesting. I was really anticipating this film after watching all of the Predator stuff with my girlfriend recently, and I actually hadn't even seen Prey before we watched it together a few months ago. And man, I was really amazed because that is one of the best things in the Predator installment to me. Prey and Killer of Killers are two of my tops in the Predator world, and this is definitely a close third, because this movie, while it had a little bit of flaws, this movie was such a fun time to watch. I was never disengaged, and I was never truly confused at all, and I like the way how they explain things. They were straight to the point with various things, and I like how they brought in the Weyland-Yutani Corp. Like, that is just pretty crazy, and it's pretty cool how they did that. So I'm curious to see what movie comes after this, because based off the ending, the way how things play out and what we see is said and who shows up, it's very curious to see what the next movie will be about. I mean, we kind of know what, based off what that ending was, who at least will what it will start out with and who the main antagonist might be for the most part, but I wonder what else they will bring in to this story to unfold what basically has been stipulated to be happening at the end of the film that we see. There were times where I feel like they could have maybe did a little bit more with the Predator lore, at least in this movie, but at the same time, to combat that, we have had several movies already. We kind of know about the Predators, so we know what entails that and what entails them doing what they do when it comes to hunting and traditions and rites of passage. So that really is not that big of a negative, but I kind of wish they expanded a little bit more, like with the father and Kuei. But I think at the same time, they did a decent job with it. It was pretty quick. They came in and then you just see, okay, wow, this is what's happening. We get straight to what the main point of the movie is. So I did like that. However, I just feel like we kind of deserved a little bit more of a, not necessarily a backstory, but just a little bit more interaction between the Predator Dek and his father. At least in the beginning, aside from him just trying to kill him, we could have been just a little bit more. But that's not really that big of a negative. Overall, I have to say, just like earlier in the video, it was a very enjoyable film. Dan Trachtenberg knows what he's doing, and after seeing Killer of Killers and then this, I mean, it can really only go up from here. Obviously, you know, sometimes sequels, they just don't do well. But I have to say, between Prey, Killer of Killers, and Predator Badlands, man, I am exceedingly excited to see what comes after this, because the way how they formulated the story and the way how they brought in, as I said, the Weyland-Yutani Corp, and how you see a synth and a predator working together, even though it might not have been that way at first, is very interesting. And it's very interesting that Dan Trachtenberg did that and how he did that, especially with the characters. And by the end of the film, when we see who's left and who is working together or against each other, you're kind of like, oh, wow, that's a very, very interesting team, or a very interesting set of enemies, or a very interesting set of people. Like, why did we do that? So I'm looking forward to what Dan Trachtenberg brings to us next. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. It's much appreciated. You know the drill. That like button, subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. Thanks again for watching. Until the next one.